Hello, my name is Anthony Patch, and this is another edition of Pulse. The title of today's Pulse recording is Trump's Tipping Point into Crypto. Today's the 20th of March of 2025. Thank you for joining me for a few minutes, perhaps about 20 minutes today. What I want to cover is the tokenization of assets. President Trump, about 2 weeks ago, made mention, and he's only mentioned it a couple of times that I have seen. He mentioned the establishment, the creation of a sovereign wealth fund for the United States. This is a crypto wealth fund. This is the tokenization of the assets of the federal government of the United States. Now, cryptocurrencies are one thing, tokens are another, but they are closely related because they both operate within a blockchain system. When I say the tipping point into crypto, President Trump delivered a 3-minute speech, video presentation to the Digital Asset Summit just held in New York City. And addressing that audience of the blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and tokenization researchers and experts and bankers and so forth, he said that we are reaching a tipping point for the world globally to adopt cryptocurrencies for international trade, cross-border trade, for the engaging in the trade and the settlement of cross-border trade through cryptocurrencies, to invest in cryptocurrencies as a country, as a nation, understanding that cryptocurrencies, in his opinion, in his estimation, are increasing in value. And therefore, if a portion, let's say, for example, 10% of a nation's sovereign wealth, its treasury, etc., were devoted to the purchase of cryptocurrencies, that because these are increasing in value, so too would the investment for the benefit of that sovereign nation. Now, tokenization is the digitalization or digitizing of an asset. It could be gold, it could be real estate, it could be something that is considered to be a non-fungible token like art, okay? In other words, you're assigning a market value, a speculative or an investment value to an asset or an asset class and trading it as you would trade a cryptocurrency. The token is simply the digital representation, the digital record of value that is then deposited into a blockchain, a decentralized distributed ledger record-keeping system. The big point here is that President Trump was alluding to, but more specifically the speakers in the Digital Asset Summit in New York, so-called experts, more knowledgeable than myself, okay? They were discussing the tipping point as well in terms of today's banking environment is very complex, and cross-border trade and the settlement thereof is very complex. But at some point, the world is going to reach a tipping point where the financial system in total will need to immediately make the changeover, the switchover, the crossover to a purely digital economic system. In addition to reaching that tipping point and then making the move to convert to purely a digital form of economic transactions, that there would be some pain. And this is language that President Trump has used with regard to tariffs, to the DOGE audits of the US government and different agencies and organizations and so forth. He has spoken in particular about tariffs, short-term, creating some pain for the US economy. And that same language is being used in terms of this tipping point and the conversion from what you would consider to be an analog system to a purely digital system, just to simplify the graphics here, such that there may be some pain, there may be some monies, some wealth, some assets that are lost in the translation over from analog to digital. But the world is quickly approaching, echoed by the president and these experts, quickly reaching that tipping point in which we do not have a choice. Speaking, the world does not have a choice. But if we are to salvage the present economic system, which is a debt-based system, if we are to salvage the existing system, we must convert to digital. So goes their proclamation, their argument. Therefore, I'd like to focus for a moment on President Trump speaking about the establishment, the creation of a sovereign wealth fund, because this is not exclusive to the United States. In fact, it's not exclusive to the US federal government. There are also states that are investing in cryptocurrency, taking some 10% on average of the state's revenue and devoting it to what they consider investing. I call it speculation, but investing in cryptocurrencies across the board, not being specific to any particular one like Bitcoin or the like. Nonetheless, the states, as the federal government, viewing that they need to establish for a state a sovereign wealth fund for themselves by investing in crypto. As we hear the discussion of this wealth fund, state or government, or multinationals, individual countries around the world establishing their own sovereign wealth funds, or if they already have such a fund, the expansion of it by expanding into cryptocurrencies. Viewing cryptocurrencies as something that is going to rapidly increase in value, thus they view it as an investment. Now, I'm not talking about stable coins. Stable coins are backed by tangible assets. I'm focusing on crypto, which is really a fiat currency, but it is a fiat currency in that it is not backed by tangible assets, as are stable coins, but nonetheless they are fiat because they are not secured, they're not backed. Their value is determined by their initial offering value set by the creators of a cryptocurrency, and then the market-driven valuation of such an instrument. Going forward, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, focusing on the US federal government, what this is taking real estate holdings, even federal buildings, assets under government control such as gas and oil reserves. You've heard President Trump talk about drill, baby, drill. Developing those reserves and adding to gold reserves and silver and other precious metal, rare earth metals have been in the news a lot. All of these represent tangible assets that can be converted from their physical analog state to a digital state by tokenizing. Again, a token simply is a recording of information that describes the asset and assigns a fair market value. At the time of tokenization, a fair market value that is assigned to that asset. that is now digitally represented, recorded, and distributed in the decentralized blockchain system. Okay? The president, speaking of a sovereign wealth fund, initially did not mention crypto, did not mention tokenization. To my knowledge, he has of yet to speak in those terms. I think very soon he is going to begin to educate the American people and the global marketplace what he means by establishing, creating, investing into a sovereign wealth fund. He's going to say, we are going to tokenize our physical assets, and explain it as he does in his type of explaining and educating an audience, which means it'll be very superficial. It'll be left to others to explain after he delivers his keynote speech. But not only the tokenization, but also the investment in cryptocurrencies. And in this presentation, this 3-minute presentation to the Digital Asset Summit in New York City, he said he is going all in on crypto. And he is saying that because the entire world is going all in on crypto. Again, there's tokenization and there's cryptocurrency, two different things, but both are digital and both reside, therefore, in the blockchain system. Okay. For example, in tokenization, Dubai has announced their real estate tokenization. So their land is being tokenized. It's an asset class being digitally represented by way of a token. So they are going through the tokenization of their real estate in Dubai. The government of Pakistan, regarding their assets, they refer to these as real world assets, RWA. So again, this would be analog, this would be tangible, this could be real estate, this could be oil, whatever it is, okay? Tokenizing their real world assets. And again, I highlight RWA because you're going to hear a lot of that terminology going forward. Real world assets. Even I think Donald Trump will use that type of language. Now, in this tipping point and tipping point into crypto, which includes tokenization, as I just said, but keeping the title short here, it's into crypto. This moving into the digital representation of our reality. This is the twinning, as it's known. This is the digital twin of the analog world, the analog reality. This process of the digital twinning, specifically of assets, real world assets, has three primary components in the development of this, what they call decentralization. When you hear the word decentralization, they're talking blockchain, which is a distributed ledger system of recording transactions, recording contracts, okay? And I should add briefly, personal information. Rather than repeating blockchain, they are now using the term decentralization. And you've heard this before, it's not new, but the focus now in the marketing, in the promotion of this digital twinning or digitalization of the analog, the digital representation in a decentralized system. They'll use this so frequently that the public will begin to lose their recollection of the word blockchain. Part of that is because blockchain has taken on, in some circles, a very negative connotation. Therefore, they're trying in the marketing to change the language, change the flavor to something that seems more technical and therefore more neutral by replacing blockchain with decentralization. They are one and the same. But placing this emphasis on decentralization as a title and as a marketing campaign, there are three main components to decentralization. One is what I already mentioned, tokenization. Number two, I mentioned briefly, stablecoin, which is backed up by tangible assets. And then, of course, the term decentralized, but the third identifier and specific term in decentralization is decentralized finance. So it is not just record keeping, but it is the financial system is decentralized. Now you'll recall when Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies were brought out, they were marketed as something that was apart from the existing legacy banking system. It was a new way of conducting finance, financial transactions, and it still remains that. In fact, the entire global financial system, as I said at the beginning here, is moving to the tipping point of tipping over into purely a financial system comprised of financial assets and financial transactions of those assets. So decentralized finance, or DeFi as DeFi as cryptocurrencies have often been referred to as a system, as a financial system. DeFi, or decentralized finance, is where the entire world is shifting to. So not only historically was this the marketing campaign for, as I like to say, speculating in cryptocurrencies, but cryptocurrencies themselves served a primary purpose. It was not only just the financial system and the changeover that we're observing right now, but it was for the purpose of building the blockchain system itself. Now, I've gone into quite a few live streams regarding my personal viewpoint and therefore my personal definition of blockchain that you do not hear in the mainstream. But you can hear that in our live streams. We have over 900 live streams. Most of them are 2 hours in length. They are educational live streams, and they are based upon facts and figures, and we provide the source materials. This can be found at anthonypatch.com. When you subscribe, you have access to our full archives of over 900 live streams going back to 2018 and also going back to June of 2017, we began publishing our monthly magazine entitled Entangled Magazine. All of the back issues are in the archives you have full access to when you subscribe through anthonypatch.com. Okay? So if you would like to hear more about why cryptocurrencies were developed in building out the blockchain system, what the full story on blockchain is, why blockchain has been built and continues to be built, and why at this tipping point for humanity, from a financial perspective, why it's so important to understand how blockchain affects every one of us, not only today, but as we go forward into the tipping point, into the crypto world, into the token world, into the digital twin of the world. And I'm not making that term up. That's a specific technical term. the digital twin, I go into greater depth and give you the full big picture context of all of these components and all of these systems. Okay? So again, it's tokenization, stablecoin adoption, and decentralized finance. And we provide, to the best of my ability, an education on that. This is a teaching and learning environment. Okay? Interesting regarding real estate and the tokenization of real estate. There's a movement, not just in the US, but in many countries. But let's focus on the US. In the rental market, this could be commercial rental, this could be real estate, single family home rentals, apartment rentals, condominium rentals, and so forth. The rental market is experiencing tokenization of the rents. Yes, there's opportunity for partial ownership of the real estate itself, the building, the land, so forth, slicing up the percentage of ownership as tokens and selling those tokens, but also the cash flow, the rental payments being tokenized. So without the necessity to go out and purchase, let's say, a single family home and then putting it into the rental market and having to manage that physical real world asset home, you could participate in the rental market, the rental real estate market, by purchasing tokens for that real world asset, either partial ownership in the property itself or sharing in the revenue from the rental payments, the monthly rental payments, or both. So again, an example of tokenization. But all of this is where the world is going to. Everything is being tokenized. This paints the picture of where I'm going to end this brief presentation by mentioning Web 3.0, the World Wide Web 3.0, also referred to as Internet 3.0. So World Wide Web, just to mention it, means the web pages, websites and web pages. The Internet in total is the system that comprises not only websites, but all of the flow of data, the generation, transmission, distribution, processing of data, okay, is the Internet. But we can use them, loosely speaking, we can use them interchangeably. Some people like to say Internet 3.0, some like to say Web 3.0. The semantics are not terribly important to differentiate, but the point is 3.0. We are right now with Web 2.0. With this tipping point, we go into what is referred to as the Semantic Web. Semantic meaning that there is context and then meaning and understanding drawn from the context of the data. And this is directly attributed to artificial intelligence. AI scraping, as it's known, scraping data from the internet, from databases, and using that data to develop training models to train AI systems and to further advance AI systems. AI now, if we look, for example, at Grok 3 from Elon Musk's X program, Grok 3 is a reasoning AI. OpenAI's ChatGPT 4 and 4.5 is a 0.1 version in this quarter of this year. 0.1 annotating that ChatGPT 4.0 and 4.5 as a reasoning chat AI. The other is Other example would be, how can I forget? DeepSeek from China. DeepSeek R1 is a reasoning. Now, a couple of live streams ago, I did a deep dive into DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and went back several years in their website and read their own description, their own white paper, if you will, going back some 5 or 6 years, as I recall, essentially putting out a request for proposal into the private sector to respond to the need that is identified by DARPA for AI that can reason. Again, 5 or 6 years ago, talking about saying, hey, we need AI systems that can reason. Well, now we see these 3 examples, and there are others, but these 3 that I just provided to you, of reasoning AI, which was promulgated by DARPA, which means the intelligence communities, the military-industrial complex, et cetera, et cetera. What we have with reasoning capabilities within AI systems today is that they are able to understand the semantic characteristics of data. As they are scraping data from the internet, from the web, to build training models, they are applying human reasoning, human context, human understanding and use of the data in a semantic fashion. So what I'm saying is, here we are again at another type of tipping point, not just financial, but AI tipping point, that is a reasoning AI system moving into a new internet, Web 3.0, Internet 3.0, that is a semantic, a reasoning internet. How this translates now is that with edge computing, edge simply means sensors or point of origin of data, the point at which data originates or it is generated and then transmitted to servers. At the edge of the internet or the web, the edge computing, limited amount of computing to generate data at source. You have a situation now that when that data is generated at source, it is done so by a limited AI system at source in a sensor, as one example, and it is then able to, at source, provide context and meaning to convert the data or package the data, pre-packaging it with a semantic value. Then it goes downstream to the server farms. So this results in the data that is scraped by AI systems. That data already has an inherent semantic quality to it. It's like front-loading semantic meaning before it's ingested by the AI system. This results in enhanced training models, models that are more consistent with human reasoning and understanding. Now this makes the AI that much more compatible and able to communicate in a semantic fashion within the Semantic Web 3.0. So my last comment here is, now we have a tipping point into the Semantic Web and a tipping point into the Decentralized Web 3.0. That's where we're at today as I see it. Tonight I will be recording at 7 o'clock Eastern through anthonypatch.com, another 2-hour educational teaching opportunity, a 2-hour live stream, and I will expand on what I've briefly introduced to you today. We also have a great deal of historical information that we have published in Entangled magazine on these specific topics that I've shared with you today. So I give you the foundational information if you choose to access that, to provide a greater educational opportunity to get up to speed. Many of you are very familiar with the terminology, the things that I've laid out, the systems. You understand where the world is at, and yet a lot of people don't. And it is that group that really don't understand what's going on in the decentralization, tokenization, the digitalization of finance in the form of crypto, and the tangible assets being converted into tokens, and the sovereign wealth funds of individual countries and their tokens and their cryptos, and where all those come together, what they all feed into. And I mentioned last night, Wednesday, we did a special live stream on Wednesday. Normally our live streams are on Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock in the evening, 7 p.m. Thursday, like tonight, and then Sunday, again, another different live stream. They're all unique. But tonight, I will be discussing what I've laid out here. But last night, we were introducing some of this, giving a hint to this. And we're going to continue on and expand upon this topic here, but there's another insidious aspect to this entire digital movement of everything, and that's human augmentation and the broader discussion of transhumanism. Sunday, we will be doing a very deep dive into human augmentation, which includes brain-computer interfaces and transhumanism in general. So I invite you, if that's of interest to you, we will dive into that on Sunday evening. We'll do tonight the decentralization of the world. God bless you all.